Okay, this is slide 7 in our progressivism unit, the end of an era, sadly. We must talk about the end of Teddy's terms as president here, at least in terms of progressivism, but he's not going away. He'll show up in our next unit as well. No need to worry. Roosevelt, during his second term, again, he serves out McKinley's first term, but then is elected in 1904. During his second terms, he calls for more regulation of businesses, higher taxes on big incomes, more protection for workers, and so forth. But he made a big mistake. He announces that he would not run again for a third term, thus making him what's known as a lame duck president. A lame duck president is someone who has no power. If you think of the little cartoon up at the top there, a duck who's lame, there's hardly anything less scary than a lame duck because they have no power. And Roosevelt makes himself powerless here because of all the threats of things he wants to do and this and that. His opponents just figure, I'm not going to try to do anything. I'll just wait till he's gone and then do what I want. So he makes a mistake by announcing he's not going to run for a third term because then everybody just waits him out. Right? There is another problem that he has, the economic panic of 1907. The economy takes a big downturn near the end of his second term. It's sometimes called the Roosevelt Recession. Critics of Roosevelt blame all of the laws he gets passed restricting businesses for the downfall of the economy. Roosevelt blames big businesses for purposely trying to make his reforms look bad and embarrass him in the process. Regardless of whose fault it is, the economy is a mess in 1907. So he's not able to accomplish a whole lot during the last part of his second term, when you combine a bad economy and the fact that he's leaving office and everybody figures we'll just wait him out. He's not able to get a lot done. So if he's not going to run again, the question becomes, who is? Okay? Roosevelt handpicks his successor. He convinces the Republican Party to nominate the Secretary of War and a mild progressive, William Howard Taft, T-A-F-T, William Howard Taft. Here's a picture. This is Roosevelt on the left, who was a big guy, broad-shouldered, barrel-chested. Taft was even bigger. Taft was huge. He was a fat man. Very tall, as Roosevelt was, but what you can't tell here is not, you can see about how wide he is this way. What you can't see how wide he is front to back. But a very famous photo here of Roosevelt sort of handing off power to William Howard Taft, his successor. I have no idea who this is, the original photo bomber back there. But some guy, creepy-looking guy, wormed his way into a very famous historical photo. But that sets up our election here in 1908. Okay? And we're going to have 3 candidates in this one. The Republicans, again, will nominate Taft, just as Roosevelt hoped they would, because he believed Taft would carry on all of the progressive reforms that he had started. Okay? So he convinces the Republicans to nominate Taft. The Democrats are going to nominate two-time presidential loser William Jennings Bryan. Yes, he's still around. He is the populist nominee. The farmer gives the Cross of Gold speech and all that, if you think back to our West unit. So, Republicans Taft, Democrats Bryan, B-R-Y-A-N. And our third candidate is the Socialist Party candidate. First time he's going to run, but it won't be the last. Eugene Debs, D-E-B-S. Eugene Debs, D-E-B-S, the Socialist Party candidate, as the far extreme version of progressivism is socialism. He's going to get quite a bit of support. And will actually get over 400,000 votes. in the election. Thanks to Roosevelt's popularity, and that progressivism is still sweeping the nation here, Taft will win an easy victory over Bryan and Debs and become Roosevelt's successor. Now, that leaves us just to talk about Teddy Roosevelt's legacy here as a progressive president. Okay? He fought socialism, even though he was a progressive. He fought socialism, refused to allow capitalism to fail, kind of strove to drive the country down the middle of the road, not too far to either side, but right down the middle of the road to keep most people happy. We said already his environmental legacy is maybe his greatest, longest lasting at least, in terms of the conservation of natural resources and all of that. He greatly enlarged the power of the presidency, making the president much more powerful than Congress. Congress had been the power in the country. Thanks to Roosevelt, for the next while here, the president will be the big power in the country. He helped sort of define the progressive movement. He is our first great progressive president. He won't be the last, but he's the first one. The first to stand up for workers rather than big business. His square deal to protect businesses and help workers would really sort of be kind of the grandfather of Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal that gets us out of the Great Depression. And really finally sort of convinced Americans that they had a duty to lead the world responsibly. This is, during Roosevelt's time as president, is when America really comes into its own as a world leader. So, again, my favorite president, one of our best presidents in my opinion. So, there you go, my Teddy Roosevelt eulogy there.